Hey, I'm Dr. Ranicki with Dr. Ranicki's Creating Wellness Center in Savannah, Georgia. I've got a question for you. It seems like a really simple one, but it may not be quite as simple as it seems. What causes people to catch a cold? How do we get sick? What we've always been told and always been taught is that you catch a cold by being around somebody else with a cold, and you catch their germs, and then their germs make you sick, right? Isn't that what you've always been told? But let me ask you this. If that's really the way it worked, if it was really as simple as that, then wouldn't medical doctors and nurses all be sick all the time? Wouldn't they be constantly just dealing with one infection after another? I mean, they spend all day every day with people coughing and sneezing and hacking and spraying right in their face. They can't get away from the germs. Yet, we don't see that medical doctors and nurses are all sick all the time, because if they were, you couldn't pay somebody enough money, I don't imagine, to become a doctor or a nurse. So there's got to be more to the equation than that. And some people say, oh, well, it's because they've been around it for so long, their immune systems have built up a tolerance to it. But realize this, remember that viruses are mutating like every 24 hours into a new strain. Bacteria about every 36 hours into a new strain. And remember that the reason we can't develop a cold vaccine and just help people to get rid of colds once and for all is because that the strain matters. It's strain specific. So you might very well have built up a resistance to this particular strain of the rhinovirus that causes a cold, but that doesn't translate then into being able to resist the next strain and the next strain and the next strain. So the fact that they're around sick people all the time, that's not the reason they don't get sick anymore either. Instead, it's much simpler than that. And that is this, is that the germ plays a role in the equation, but it doesn't play the biggest role in the equation. It's the smaller part. The bigger part of the equation is what's the level of host resistance. In other words, how strong is the person's immune system at resisting the cold in the first place? If you've got a person with really good host resistance, then they can have people coughing and sneezing and spraying in their face. They could be sharing the same glass and they won't get sick. On the other hand, if you've got a person who's got weak host resistance, they probably don't even need to be around somebody else to get their germs. You've got enough in you already. Like the bacteria that we blame for causing strep throat, streptococcus, that's all over the back of your throat. Not like one here or two there, but you've just got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands, if not millions and millions of them all over the back of your throat, and yet you probably don't have strep throat right now because your immune system is keeping that bacteria in check. Your immune system says we want to have a little bit around, but not too much. So every time the bacteria starts to kind of grow and proliferate a little bit, your immune system comes in and knocks it back down. So why does this matter? Why would I be discussing this with you? Because guess which part of the equation you can actually change and influence. You're not going to be able to avoid the germs. We've been trying for a long, long time. Since we discovered bacteria under the microscope, we've tried all kinds of things between antibiotics, antibacterial, hand gels. We're not shaking hands anymore, but we're doing fist bumps and things like that. Before long, it's going to be the elbow tap. And then before long, we'll just kind of look at each other from far, far away because we don't want to be around each other's germs. But this isn't helping. We're not seeing any reduction in the amount of sickness. They don't say, hey, this year's flu season was much, much better than before's, so keep up the fist bumping, everybody. Not shaking hands, that seems to be making the big difference. Instead, we could be focusing on how do we build our host resistance? How do we get that stronger? So without a doubt, this is simple, logical, commonsensical stuff. It is how well are you eating? How well are you hydrating? How well are you doing at getting enough activity? How well are you doing getting enough rest? How well are you doing at doing things for stress release? And then are you getting your subluxations corrected? So if you've not caught any of my previous videos where I've defined subluxation, remember it means misfiring nerves or bad cell phone signals that happen between your brain and some part of your body, which could certainly include between the brain and the immune system. These subluxations are not rare or uncommon because what causes them is very, very common. And it boils down to an overload of either a physical or a chemical or a mental stressor. So physical is your slips, your falls, your bumps, your bangs, your car accidents. But the big one in today's world is all the time we spend sitting and sitting and sitting. Chemical stresses, this is all the artificial everything we put in our body that doesn't belong there. Artificial flavors, colors, preservatives, sweeteners, pollutants in the air and water, drugs, whether they be over the counter, prescription, recreational, or things like caffeine, nicotine, alcohol, those can all impact your nervous system. But the biggest cause of subluxations by far is overloads of mental stress. And that's pretty self-explanatory. Jobs and bills and family and kids and all of that kind of stuff. So remember that what we do as chiropractors is we correct these subluxations. Get these misfiring nerves firing correctly again so your brain can talk to your immune system better. Tell it what needs to be done, where and how, and the immune system then is able to keep all of these germs at bay, and you can get back to being able to shake hands, hugging people, and not having to worry about their germs because your host resistance is high and you're not going to have to worry that every little thing is all of a sudden going to turn into illness for you. I don't mean that you'll be invulnerable. I don't mean you'll never get a cold again, but I mean it isn't going to be something that dominates your winter the way I see seems to be the case for so many people, where as soon as there's the first talk about cold or flu season, right away they're sterilizing everything all the time and refusing to touch anybody. So focus on the part that we've got control over. We won't be able to change the germs. We've tried, they fought back, they're winning. We've got superbugs and all of that kind of mess as a result of our efforts to try to kill them. But instead focus on what you can change, your host resistance. So thanks for your time and attention. If you want to find out more about how chiropractic can help you with those kinds of issues, please reach out to us at Dr. Ranicki's Creating Wellness Center in Savannah, Georgia. We'd love to help you to get your health back on track in the way that it ought to be going. Thanks for your time and attention.